Welcome to Closer to Venus. I'm Johnny Burke, and today's guest is Rachel Corpus. She is a channel, medium, and she's also an angel incarnate. She lives in the quantum realm and the multiverse of parallel realities in collaboration with angels, ascended masters, people on the other side, and extraterrestrials. In this episode, we'll discuss an urgent message from the angelic realm. Rachel, welcome back to the program.
Thank you. So good to see you and all of your audience. Thanks for having me back.
So we've got an interesting topic for today. I believe this has to do with worldwide disclosure.
It does.
Okay. All right. Tell us about it.
This is a big year for us on Earth. And I will say that when I share this information, it's not coming from a place of warning or fear. It's coming from a place of readiness. And that collectively, everyone here on Earth, we've been here before. We've been here in other iterations. When we've done this before, we haven't necessarily failed, but there has been, stay with me here, this is going to be weird, but there's been a reset button that's been hit. And I'll explain who has hit that reset button when we go a little further. But saying that because what I tell you today might not feel so foreign. When you first hear it, some of it might be a little bit, oh gosh, is that really going to happen? But let it sit with you for a while, because this is part of your data. This is part of what we know. And the angels would like me to relay it. I'm an angel. I'm a messenger. That's why I'm here. And this is to equip you with the tools in your toolbox. So when this stuff plays out, you know exactly what to do. This is all going to happen at once, pretty much. And if this all were to happen a little bit by a little bit, it would be a little bit easier. But this is going to happen whoosh as a tidal wave. And that's one of the other reasons why I'm telling people, so that we can prepare. So let's get into it.
The way I understood it is that you were actually able to remote view a meeting, was it at the Pentagon?
In my natural way of being, because I'm an angel incarnate. And if people listening don't know how I know that, because that's kind of like, well, how does she know that? Is she okay? When I was 4, I had my first near-death experience. I've had 4 in my life, and many out-of-body experiences. I was taken to the angelic realm, and I was both 4 years old, and I was part of my consciousness. For the first time, I was aware of that. And they took me to the seraphim realm, and they told me, you are one of us. I was 2 parts at that time. I was 4 years old, and I was this grown-up voice, which is why I remember it so clearly. And they gave me a tour, told me my mission, and I've been back several times. So I want to say that first. That's why I'm so clear that I am an angel incarnate, and I'm very clear about my mission. Because of who I am, what I have certain abilities or gifts, and one of them is upsight vision. When I look around me, what I see is the hologram that we live in. And it looks very Matrix-like. And so I can also bilocate, which is me just sitting here with you in that hologram. I can see what looks like a television set show up. And so I can see somewhere else in the world, as if I'm remote viewing, but I'm also right here. So I do it with my eyes open, and I can see ethically something else going on. Now, I would not see into someone's bedroom or into their personal conversations. This is something that is for the highest good of the world, those types of things. So that would be when I'm having an interview or a conversation with someone, I can bilocate. Then when I'm by myself, I can remote view in the typical way. So those are some of the ways that I get this information. I also go to council meetings with the higher councils, and the higher councils include angelic beings, extraterrestrials, interterrestrials, which are our higher beings that live within the earth. People are going to think that's just nuts if they've never heard of that, but there are beings in the earth.
I've heard several other speakers tell me that there are beings that live within the earth, and it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but
It really does. But this is part of the disclosure that it'll all be out there. But one of the things that's been happening in our culture is that when these strange things will leak out and we'll see a being from another world or coming from the ocean and it's seen, there's been this movement of shame that when it's reported, our government or another government, they've been taught to shame us. So the story gets packed down. That's actually written into government procedure. If it's reported, meet it with shame so the story goes away.
why do you suppose that is?
Because it keeps all of those facets quiet. Because some of it's for our highest good. Because if it's too early and we know, okay, there's other populations in the earth, we would freak out as people. Oh, we're in a hologram. So sometimes the hologram glitches and people see that. If it's too early, instead of our government saying, by the way, you're in a hologram, we would freak out. Instead, what do? They create a movie called The Truman Show. Soft disclosure.
I'm guessing that a lot of the literature and some of the TV shows and movies are a form of soft disclosure. They're packaged as fiction, but it's like disclosure in plain view.
Yes, it is both channeled information and some of it is scripted in from collaborators who are getting information from government systems. And this is part of soft disclosure. I've seen it in the minutes. In the council meetings, we talk about how much to share. And there are representatives from governments at those meetings.
Deep state. I've been told again and again that this has been happening. Reptilians in the government are meeting with the government. Is there any substance to that?
Yes, that's part of what I'd like to talk to you about today. We're going back to around the time 1954. We're talking about the time of Eisenhower. Angels, if you want to channel any additional information at this time, I'm open to it.
Yes, guys, help her out, please.
Yes. There's some significant things that happened around 1954, around the end of World War II. Let's think about the three wars. World War I, that was about identity. World War II, that was about structure. Identity, who are we? World War II, how do we figure out, how do we put those structures in place? So after World War II is done, there's some significant things happening there. It wasn't just us on Earth like we thought it was. Let's talk about the reptilians. How do you think about a lion? A lion isn't an evil being. A lion, though a predator, just is doing its thing. It eats when it's hungry, sleeps. Reptilians are the same type of thing. They are not inherently evil. They are just beings who are searching for resources. We got noticed once upon a time. Earth beings got noticed because reptilians, they survive on a couple of elements. First of all, gold. And gold is an element that's on Earth. But when they were here, they also realized that there's another element that they really survive on, and that is our energy. And loosh is the energetic substance that comes from either end of our emotional spectrum. When we're at the height of joy or ecstasy, they can inhale that. It gives them life force energy. Or when we're in great fear or despair, they can inhale that and it gives them life force energy. So when they noticed this, they saw humans not as empathic, beautiful, artistic beings. They saw us as food. So after World War II, there was a treaty signed with Eisenhower that there would be scheduled abductions for the reptilian race because the reptilians needed food, and if that treaty wasn't put in place, our world would be taken over by reptilians. And so instead of that being done, that treaty says you can have this many people per quarter, per year, but you can't have us all.
In other words, we've been held hostage by the reptilians or particular race of reptilians for a long time.
Yeah. That was the original treaty. At the same time, the first Disney opened in Anaheim, California. Walt Disney opened that. That's key. Also, there was a prison that opened near the Vatican in Rebibbia, Italy. The land there is very holy. When I look at it with the angels, it's close to ley lines. And that prison housed a lot of men that had PTSD, a lot of violent criminals, and just men at the beginning. It had women later, but just men. Now that door was opened by Pope Leo, December 26, 2024. That's one of those portals that was opened in the Jubilee celebration. When it was built, you have to remember that Eisenhower, Walt Disney, all of that's connected because Eisenhower was part of the creation of NASA. Disney consulted with that. And then we have some workings with the Vatican, creating this portal type prison in Rebibbia, which wasn't really part of that then, but it was built at that time. So we have this trifecta of places that when I asked the angels, was this intended? Because I couldn't first see the connection. They said, yes, it was intended. It made it a trifecta of beings that could travel in between three places. So we have this nexus point of between 1954, 1958, but it was really that creation of those three places and the treaty that began with the Reptilians. So when all of that started, we saw this dichotomy of systems beginning on Earth, that would control humans, but who created it? We all did. We all started to create this matrix that is our money system, our school system, our churches. And when people talk about the false matrix, it's false because it's not organic. It's not false because it's not there. It's false because it doesn't have spirit in it. Okay? So when I look at it, it's digital, it's made of numbers, hieroglyphs, and it has this buzz like a refrigerator. So when I'm talking about the creation of this trifecta, they were like the initial creators of it, not God, but these creators. Think about Disney, think about Eisenhower. But when they created it, we don't have to look at it as an evil connection in the beginning or creation in the beginning. It was created as just part of an earth structure. But what happened was we as humans, we started to believe it as total reality. We stopped feeling ourselves as spirit because what Disney did was they got so good at creating creations, escapism, and joy that in the entertainment industry, we saw that as reality. And so Eisenhower, what he did for the world, or for the United States, was he tried to create safety, and we relied on the government instead of spirit. And those types of systems, we started to rely on the matrix instead of our spirits. We started to rely on outside external circumstances for our safety, to rely on other things instead of what was inside of us. We always have spirit and God, our source, in us. It's all we need. But significantly in this lifetime for all of us, in 1954, when these three things were created, even the prison in Rebibbia, even though we don't have a lot of information about that trifecta, when it was created, it made this nexus point when Earth started to really lean into external sources for their power instead of what's within. Now, when this happened, the reptilian nation took advantage because they noticed that humans could be farmed differently because they were no longer looking at sovereign humans who were in control. They noticed, oh, these humans, they're docile. They're dumb. We can farm them more because when we take from them, they don't know. They do not know that we're siphoning their energy. They're exhausted, but they don't know why. So when they're exhausted, they just go buy more. They just go eat more. They're getting obese. They're getting poor, and they don't know it's us.
You're saying that people can have their energy siphoned off and not be aware of it.
Yes, it happens to literally all of us.
What's it going to take for us to raise our vibration where these reptilians or greys or whoever that are not the friendly ETs can no longer exist?
This is the disclosure. This is what it's going to take. I want you to know what happened to us before, because the story that I told you, when that happened in our history, or likely our parents' history, we were in survival. So we were just seeing progress being made. Wow, Disneyland opened. Eisenhower is doing something for our country, but who the heck would know that he had a treaty with reptilians? That's starting to be shared now, and it still feels like a story, right? I feel crazy sharing it. I feel vulnerable sharing it, and yet it's true. Now, it took this long, and the holy door of Rabibia being open for this information to start to come out. Here's why the worldwide disclosure is important. I'm going to tell you that the disclosure is what's going to wake us up enough that we will no longer be able to be controlled. We can stop saying awaken. We can start to say aware. Because if World War I was identity, World War II was structure, we're in World War III. This is a war for consciousness. It's not really a war because we're conscious now. We've done it. Now we're in consciousness.
Speaking of World War III, the war in Iran, does that have anything to do with what you're talking about?
It has everything to do.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Yes. Here's what we've got going on. Angels, here we go. We will learn all of a sudden that we live in a hologram. We are in our avatar form, and we are plugged into a system here where our physical bodies are somewhere else. Our spirit is somewhere else. And we will get to see that we are not really here. Some people here are plugged into the reptilian system where they are slaves. And there are different levels of that. And they will wake up to it and realize they have no power. That they are literally plugged into a system. And this is why they feel like, why am I waking up, working, going home and doing it again, and I can't get out of this rut? It's because they are plugged into a system, and they will realize that they are in an actual pod, they are plugged in, and that they are being farmed for their energy, and they will see that. Some people are having that existence. I will tell you, side note, that I had an out-of-body experience where I saw this once. I was young and I didn't know what I was seeing, but it's this. I saw it. I saw people in pods, and I saw a creature walking around and checking vitals. I have seen this personally. We will also see that for others, we are free roaming here, as if we are older souls or we have permission or something. We are free roaming, we have more free will, and yet we are still part of this farm because the initial treaty, it's gone awry. It's not in place anymore. The reptilians have essentially taken over and their power is gone. The Epstein files here in America that have come out, they have nothing to do with what they are on the surface. Everyone involved there, everything there is to feed that reptilian nation. And when all of that came up and out, the angels are behind that because it could no longer happen anymore to feed that nation. Their power is gone. So, yeah, the power's gone. And so the story coming up is to come up and to go into the Akashic records so that it can no longer perpetuate their feeding system. And when that stopped, it actually stopped When the Pope opened the door on December 26, 2024, that's when it stopped. And it's taken a couple years for us to see the outcome, but that's why those files are opened up, because we're no longer feeding the reptilians. They are getting ready to leave, and their power is no good here anymore. So because of that, we're not being controlled anymore. And as they remove their docking and they leave, we will get our awareness back. I will tell you at the end how that will work, but this is how we'll awake all at once. We'll see how we're connected to a system.
As of right now, though, are there still people getting their energy siphoned off by the reptilians, but at the same time you're saying the reptilians don't have any more power?
They're losing it. Some are still in place. As long as we have our government systems in place, because the reptilians are part of government systems, church systems, school systems, any system that has control in a way that feels like they're trying to take power and they're not listening. There's a reptilian in place. And you can see how the countries, the people are pushing back, and we're turning it into a collaborative nation again. As we see that, that means that the reptilians are removing their docking, is the way the angels say it. It doesn't mean that we'll be a nation without arguments. We are human, but we'll no longer be a nation or a world of control. We're moving into a world of collaboration, because that's what humans are meant to do. We're meant to collaborate and live together instead of being separate. We're going back to source. And what the reptilians did was remove our connection from source. They gave us amnesia.
Okay, amnesia. You brought this up before in one of our other conversations. Is this related to the soul amnesia once we do the pre-planning of this incarnation and we come down and we forget, or is that a different type of amnesia?
When we come into a soul, we naturally forget because the earth is a playground, or it's a place where we can learn. The reptilians turn that up. We'll just be able to come here in our spirit form and utilize earth as it's meant to be. They've corrupted it, so we're removing the corruption.
It's like a corrupted file or something.
Yeah, exactly. The hologram will be released. We won't be in a hologram anymore. We'll be in natural earth. So when we talk about the fifth dimension, this is often what we're talking about in technical form. The fifth dimension is already here. We are in the fifth dimension. It's not a split of earth. It's not a new earth. It's our natural state of being. And really, we're already there. The fifth, through all the upper dimensions, it's part of us already. And it's very hard for us to experience the fifth dimension when our energy is being siphoned.
Does this have anything to do with moving from the Piscean age into the Aquarian age? Because I'm about to interview someone else again on that topic where she's saying it's already here.
It's already here.
It's already here.
This also happened right before the Vietnam War. And so it didn't happen for us then because the reptilians pushed the Vietnam War. This is the function of the war now. They're trying to push that in, but it's an unsuccessful war because so many people are saying, no, we don't want this war. This will be a different war. This is a war of consciousness. And it's not about who wins the war. It's about every individual saying, this war will not change my heart.
Epstein files. Do you or do the angels see some major fallout coming from the Epstein files?
Yes, because the people who are named in the files, angels, could I have Gabriel, please? Yes, that won't go away, and it will come out, and the exposure is part of that coming up and out instead of recycled back into the story. It's coming up and out to be healed from a soul level. Every person in there has signed up for part of their healing. It's their soul map to be called out. They won't remember that consciously, but that's what they've signed up to do.
I would often get the hologram confused with here on Earth where we go into the in-between space, in between our incarnations, we plan our next incarnation, we pick the actors, and we come down here and we forget. Because when you mention avatars, it seems very similar to us basically casting our own movie. Through the participation of the reptilians, we're more like puppets.
It's different, right? What you're talking about is we are part of Source, and through conversations with our guides and our angels, we decide, where do we want to incarnate? What's the best planet for us? And then we map out our plan. Who do we want to do this with? That idea or that truth that we are always with Source, and then a fractal of us goes to that planet. You're always with Source. That's like your avatar that's there. That's always true. This is different. They have taken part of you and they have corrupted that. It's like a kidnapping situation.
Right. It's almost like the cast is set, then we come down here, we enter the movie, and then they hijack it?
It's hijacked. Yeah.
I said puppets.
I don't mind that.
We're going to see some fallout from the Epstein files.
And many of the people in the Epstein files are reptilian, the ones that are in control. That's part of it, as we said before, because that's how they were getting their food. How do we know this? How will this be disclosed? Our vibration will change suddenly. See, we all have a vibrational frequency, and our vibration can be changed in an instant by the world government. There is a world government that's in place that is not shared with us, and that'll be made known to us. And by frequency, they can make us all stop at once. They can control us. That's been in place in every iteration of us, in every lifetime. It's biowarfare. When this is disclosed, what they're going to do is they're going to change the frequency all at once to make us more aware. What they're doing is they're trying to disclose all of this at once, thinking that it's going to wipe us out in fear.
Okay, that's pretty sinister.
It's not going to work. This is what we talked about in the meeting. There are enough of us, angels on earth and starseeds, that are downloading this information, plus the slow disclosure that's been happening for the last 20, 30 years. When the sudden wave of disclosure comes, people are going to feel the vibrational change in their mind first. What is this? And then all of the information will come out. They'll see the information because it's happening in real time. But what they showed me was people will say, oh, yeah, we knew that, though. We knew it. And it'll be this sense of, finally, we know. If this is a worldwide disclosure moment that's meant to knock us down like a tidal wave, it's not. It has the opposite effect. It gives us the freedom. It's the freedom of knowledge that we've been craving, because the council said that one of the things that Earth has been pleading for from a soul level is, would you just tell us what we think we already know? Come on, tell us. Here's the rest of the list. We will see all of a sudden how extraterrestrials and interterrestrials have been living amongst us, but they've been masking as human. So our teachers, our first grade teachers, our doctors, who have been healers as extraterrestrials, but they've been dressed as human, they will be able to show up authentically as them. When our vibration changes, in that moment, there will be people in a doctor's appointment who will look at their doctor, and all of a sudden their doctor, she's wearing her white coat, but her face is going to look different all of a sudden. It's like that because our vibration is different, so we can all of a sudden see reality. But see, they're betting on people freaking the F out.
Right. So the world government, that sounds like a reptilian group that thinks that by flipping the 5D switch, we're going to freak out. But when that doesn't work, does that mean they have to leave?
They're hoping we freak out so they can get back into the way it was. They freak out, we tumble down, they can plug us back in. That's not what's going to happen.
The angels can't step in because they're not supposed to interfere, correct?
Free will.
Yeah.
Free will. We talked about how the reptilians have been farming us. And then probably the biggest one that we're going to be aware of, we have been following, hug me here, angels. We've been following a false god. We have not been following the monad.
The monad?
Yes.
Who's the monad?
The god that we have here on earth is a lovely god. But here's what happened. In the very beginning of our existence, all of us here, all the souls, we came from Source, big S, Source, all-loving God. That Source was really excited about being Source and wanted to explore itself, and then kind of expanded into other bits of Source And then one went off by herself, Sophia. Her name was Sophia. Sophia made another version, and that version came out wonky. And she did not want to do anything to hurt that version. And so that version went off by itself. That's our God. And that God was so by himself, he just thought, well, I'm the only one here, so I must be God. That God is called the demiurge. So that God just simply believed, I'm the only one here, so I must be God. And that God started to create this universe. And so we are all part of that God, but really we're part of the God that created that God. We're part of Source. So we've always been watched over by Source, or we would call it the monad, but we've been taught to worship the demiurge, who by default is pretty narcissistic because he just believes he's the only one there, so he requires worship. He requires follow me and only me, because wouldn't you if you thought you were the only one there?
Does this have something to do with how the church thousands of years ago inverted the myths, suppressed the mysticism and the shamanistic parts of our origins, and made us worship a God outside of us instead of inside of us?
Yes.
The same thing?
It's the same thing, because Source is part of us. We all came from Source. We have Source DNA, and the demiurge is also part of us. Within us, since the demiurge didn't know that it was part of Source, the demiurge kind of created its own mind and was channeling, if you need something, tell me. If you need something, tell me, I'll take care of you. And so inherently, it was teaching external validation. Even though we have Source within us, that comes from Source. It doesn't really come from the demiurge. So mysticism and spirituality is really more connected to Source, where you have everything within you, not what maybe some call the false God.
So that's fairly accurate.
Very accurate. And loving the demiurge is not wrong. I love God. That God has a religion and God have a great place in my life. The demiurge is not evil. No, fully loving. You just have to understand that the demiurge has his story, it's male, his story, and a great place in our life. But that's one of the things that we'll be aware of. Not that we've done anything wrong, but that there's more to us. And the people who taught us about the demiurge just might not have known about Source. We have not been tricked. We get to know more.
What does this all have to do with ascended masters? Lots of people come on to the show and talk about seeing and communicating with Jesus, and Mary Magdalene as well. Does that play a part in the disclosure or not necessarily?
Let me ask about that. I love that question. Yes, I want to pull in Jesus, please. He says, absolutely, we are boots on the ground when this happens. And then Mary came in to say, we have meetings about this. And Jesus rolled his eyes. Meetings. We have meetings about this all the time, because when this happens, we will be present as well. Jesus says, this is not my second coming. This is not the end of the world. This will be, he wants me to talk about when this is coming, when this happens, people will think it's the apocalypse. It's the opposite. And some will think it's the entering of the fifth dimension. It's just life. It's just the next day. And we'll be there to help people stay calm and just understand this is the next, just keep breathing. And then I saw Ganesh, and Ganesh, he says, I will be able to be the little boy again. I won't have an elephant head. He said, so we get to transmute too.
What effect will this have on the illusion of separation?
Mary said, that is the whole point. That is the whole point of this. The illusion of separation dissolves. That is the point.
There is no separation.
Yes, she says that this is being done by the world government to try to push down and to keep the treaty as is. However, what will happen is all will remember they are connected to each other. And she showed me the scene at the end of the Dr. Seuss Grinch when all of them are holding hands. That's what she showed me.
That's amazing. Is it true that guides, angels, are peeps on the other side? Is it true that they actually do have a sense of humor? It sure seems like.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Even when we're talking about something so heavy like this, and I ask them why sometimes, because I'll be working a missing persons case or something just really graphic, and they will be lighthearted. I'm like, how can you do that? Because we can see the outcome. Before I go, I want to tell people how to handle it when it happens. That's big.
All right.
When you're going through this moment, the angels say that there's a mantra that we're to say inside ourselves, because they're showing that there's likely going to be something projected in the sky. Depending on your region, the government very likely is going to project maybe Jesus in the sky, or Buddha, or Muhammad, or in the sky, to call people's attention away, as if to say, well, here's what you need to believe in. So they said, what they want you to do is say in your mind, everything I have is inside me. Everything I need is inside me. Everything I need is inside me. Or you could say, source within. I am source within. Find what works for you and start saying that mantra already so you have it prepared. It is okay for you to close your eyes and not look. You're not being
judged.
Yeah, you can just close your eyes. And then the other thing is, this matrix that we're talking about, that we're plugged into, you can disconnect from it at any time. You just say your full name, you say your birthday, you say a few statements. This is all out loud. You say a few statements about, I usually say, I'm ready to disconnect from the matrix. I can do this because I belong to Source. I feel good about this. You're not convincing anybody. You're just setting the intention. And then the matrix looks literally like an Ethernet cord, like we used to have when we had wall connections. It's right in your crown chakra. Then you count down from 5 to 0. When you hit 0, it disconnects and it hovers about 3 feet above you. And then you just sit in that beautiful quantum space where you're disconnected. It'll get quiet in your room. And this is a place where you can just meditate or have meetings like this, or meditative meetings. You can sleep, you can paint, whatever you want. And then when it's time to reconnect, you can either say to your angels, connect me when you think I should reconnect, or you can inhale, and then the exhale will click you back in. So those two things can be helpful tools.
Rachel, thanks again for coming on to the show with this message. I have a feeling that you'll be back at some point because we'll have more things to talk about. In the meantime, how can our listeners find you online?
My website, my name is rachelcorpus.com, and that's my website as well. And I'm on Instagram and social media and stuff. And anytime you disconnect from the matrix, I'm usually there as well. I just don't go there on Friday nights. That's my night off. But
got to have Friday nights off. I got that. You've been listening to Closer to Venus. I'm Johnny Burke. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing. For more info, you can go to closertovenus.com. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.